Hey, how's everybody doing today? Welcome back to the channel. Well, it's obvious I'm not in an aircraft, but I am at the airport. I'm out here today to meet up with my mechanic to discuss the importance of finding a good mechanic and getting a good relationship with them, because aviation mechanics are no different than automotive mechanics. There's good ones and there's bad ones. And when you run into a bad one, it can cost you a lot of headache and money. So finding a good one and hanging on to them is really important. So we're going to step out, speak with Willis, and kind of look at an issue that another aircraft has had, where it's had a previous mechanic that kind of did some shady stuff, and it's probably going to cost the owner a little bit more in the long run. Whereas if you was able to find a good, trustworthy mechanic to begin with, he probably could have saved himself some headache and some money. Anyways, we'll step out here and meet up with Willis. Well, hey, Willis, let me interrupt you. How are you doing today?
Hey, Frank, how you doing?
Doing well. Let me introduce.
A little chilly today, isn't it?
It is. Let me introduce everybody here. This is Willis, my aviation mechanic. He's a A&P, correct?
I'm an A&P with IA.
Tell us a little bit about your background, if you would.
Well, grew up on a farm in Idaho. Got hooked on flying when I was 20 years old. Joined the Army when I was 27. Wanted to go to flight school. Spent 5 years enlisted. Finally made it to flight school. Went to flight school, flew OV-1Ds and King Airs for the rest of my career.
Oh, wow.
I got tracked into maintenance because I'm a maintainer. On the farm, I took care of the farm equipment. So that just carried over in the military, and my entire career was around maintenance. I never really got into the mission aspect of it because I was more valuable in the hangar than I was out there in the field and flying missions. So that was my bread and butter there. During my stint in the Army, I was crew chief with the Army parachute team at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and I had an old warrant officer who mentored me in Korea for a year. He took me under his arm and said, well, you need to get your A&P license. And he taught me everything I needed to know, and I went and took my writtens and took my oral, and in 1984 I got my A&P license. And it's just carried me through the years. In the military, you don't need an A&P license, but it adds credibility to your it's good on your resume, and it adds credibility. So
right.
Retired after 21 years in the military. Spent 18 years at PM Fixed Wing at Redstone, Alabama. Kind of flew a desk, drove a desk, I guess, but I'm still always involved in the maintenance aspect. Always had a little side gig going out at the local airport. And I retired, and then I decided that this was going to be my retirement project, is help people keep their airplanes flying.
Well, that's awesome. It's definitely appreciated on the owner's side to have somebody with your knowledge base. So what are we working on here today?
Well, today, this is a Cherokee 180, 1967 model. Okay. The gentleman, the original project started out to be an engine overhaul. So the engine had 1,700 hours on it. Don't ask me why he decided to overhaul it. He showed me some pictures, and I looked at them, and I said, well, okay, probably was a good idea. So the engine was removed and sent to Triad Aviation in Burlington, North Carolina. It came back from the overhaul, nice and pretty. It's been sitting here for 5 months. And the reason it's been sitting here for 5 months is because this gentleman, for some reason, has had a hard time finding a reputable mechanic that will do the job and show up. So I saw a Facebook post the other day, and he was looking for a real mechanic. He said real mechanic. And I decided to, I was like, well, let me check this out. So I sent him a message, and yesterday I came up and took a look at it. So this airplane's been down for 18 months for an engine overhaul. Normally, engine overhaul, the engine comes off, it goes to the overhaul facility. Currently, backlog due to parts, personnel. an overall overhaul takes about 6 months from the time you pull it off to the time you get it back and get it back on. So unfortunately, this gentleman got tangled up with some mechanics that are less than reputable, and he's been struggling for 18 months trying to get his engine back on his airplane because the mechanics don't show up, they don't do what they're supposed to do, so here I am. So we have the engine basket that's been out for repair. You got your nose gear that goes into the engine basket that I have to put it back together. And over here, you have the exhaust system that has to go back on. It has new risers to be installed in the muffler. This is the muffler, and then it has the risers. And so you have the prop over there on the couch. So all in all, it looks kind of scattered, but really this is probably one of the most organized projects I've taken on. I pretty well know where everything's at. A couple of weird things that happened when this engine came off, don't ask me why, is this engine basket here is held on to the firewall with 5 bolts, 3 across the top, 2 across the bottom. The bottom 2 bolts, easy to get at. The top 3, you got to get up there, remove some instruments. Well, this gentleman, don't ask me why, he just decided he would just cut the bolts off, which, is really not a good thing to do. So I have to go in there, and you can see where he's been trying to pound that bolt out. Mm-hmm. I don't know why it didn't come out when he pounded it. He pounded on this one. You can see he pounded it back a little ways.
Right.
So,
there's no thread or anything in there that it's grabbing on.
There's something going on in there. The reason those bolts didn't push out.
Right.
So I have to get up under there anyway because I have to install new bolts. And then this shroud here that protects the electric fuel pump and the gascolator from the engine heat. Instead of just taking the bolts out, he decided to cut the bolts off. Now, whether the bolts were tight and they broke off, I don't know. I kind of doubt it. So just crazy stuff. Cut the mount clamps. Okay, those mount clamps, guess what? They clamp to this basket. And so if you're over there chopping with a Dremel trying to cut those mounts and you miss and hit that tube, well, guess what? That makes that basket unserviceable if the damage is beyond limits. That basket right there is just to get it properly repaired is about $3,800. If you have to buy a new one, you're looking at about $6,000.
Wow. Wow.
And it's 4130 chrome moly tube. As you can see, it's welded, intricately welded. They don't just stamp them out at the factory in China.
Right. Right. Well, again, back to what I was saying at the intro to this video, that, finding a good, honest mechanic can save a lot of headache and money in the long run, because not only is this gentleman paid for a mechanic to do a job that it really causes more work. He's now going to have somebody fix that, and it's going to cost him more in the long run.
In the long run, it's going to cost him more, and it's airplanes have personalities. It's just like I maintain your airplane. Mm-hmm. When I first was introduced to your airplane, I had to
get to know it.
Yeah. Now I know your airplane. When it comes time for inspection, I don't have to get all concerned about areas that I've already seen them. I've seen what's going on. I don't see anything bad.
Right.
So the next inspection or the next time I have to do anything to it, I already kind of know what your airplane's all about. This airplane, haven't seen it ever. This is my first introduction to it, and I have to learn its nuances.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you have an airplane and you bounce from mechanic to mechanic every year, especially for an annual inspection, you're just going to end up spending a lot of money, because one mechanic gets all wound around the axle about one thing, another mechanic care less about that thing, but he gets wrapped around the axle about another thing.
Yep.
So, and the bad thing about general aviation, it's not a bad thing, but there are inspection checklists that you have to follow, you should follow. But when it comes to criteria as far as wear and limits, sometimes it's left up to the gentleman, the mechanic doing the inspection, to make a determination if it is unserviceable. I may look at something and say, fly it and watch it. Another guy may say, oh, it's bad, we got to replace it. So it's, it's a crapshoot.
Yeah.
But in the end, the goal is a safe, airworthy, legal airplane.
Absolutely.
Without breaking the bank. My goal is to never nickel and dime. My goal is a safe, airworthy airplane in the end. That's all I care about.
Same here. I take my family up in them and people I care about. So I want to make sure that aircraft is in tip-top shape. I do appreciate you taking a few minutes with me today. I don't want to get too much in your way. Definitely, if you want to get a hold of Willis, this time I'll put his proper information in the video. I do apologize about that.
I have a brand new business card, so I'll give you the business card.
Outstanding. So if you are in the central North Carolina area and are interested in getting a good, knowledgeable mechanic to do some work on your aircraft, I'm sure Willis would be more than happy to hear from you.
And I do travel. My fixed base of operation is in Sanford at KTTA, but I do travel. So,
and we're at Asheboro Airport, HBI, right now, and he does come out and work on my stuff. And now that he's got a place I'm more comfortable getting in and out of, I'm going to be trying to take mine to him, make it easier on him. Okay, so I'll make sure to put his information up on the screen here, the correct information this time. And Willis, again, thank you very much for taking the time to speak with me today. And
well, you're welcome, Frank.
It's my pleasure. What you're working on. So, again, if you need to contact Willis here, I'll make sure the information is up on the screen and in the description below. And if you have him work on your stuff, feel confident that you have a knowledgeable mechanic working on your airplane. Anyways, I really appreciate everything you do for me and for the channel too. So
you're welcome.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Peace out.
Thanks for watching. And as usual, you guys make sure y'all fly good, and I'll catch you next time. Thanks again.